before you involve anyone in a photo session, you need to ask the model/person to sign a model release form and ensure who owns the copyright. What's your thoughts on that?
So the default is that in the UK anyway, and I think it's pretty much the same throughout the Western world, that you own the copyright. Since 1988 and the Design and Copyright Patent Act, the photographer retains the copyright. It's all about usage. Nobody I photograph, who's a celebrity that you might have heard of, is going to be taking kindly to me sort of pulling out a contract and getting them to sign anything. So
That's so true. Imagine Jeremy Clarkson
yeah, I
asking
mean,
to.
our relationship is based on the assumption that the pictures are going to be used in an editorial way. So it's kind of acknowledged that they're agreeing to being photographed. It's a collaborative process, and the resulting images will be reproduced first in the publication for which they're being interviewed or for which I'm being commissioned to do the job. And then subsequently, I think it's entirely appropriate and reasonable that I can syndicate the pictures and they can be used in a similar way going forward for the term of the copyright, which is, I think, 70 years after I die.
Okay, so what's the point of a model release form?
Model release forms apply for when you're making pictures where you are using models or people who are not in the public eye, and you're therefore, I guess, projecting an idea onto them to sell something. So you're maybe taking a picture of a woman and you're making her look like a housewife, and you're selling gravy granules. She's in a sort of a suburban setting, and you're kind of creating a seductive idea in order to sell the gravy granules or the Levi jeans or whatever it is. And that person doesn't want to subsequently find that they are the face of Levi's or the face of gravy granules.
Yeah.
So it's all about usage. And if you can sign, if you get someone to sign a model release form and you don't really tell them how it's going to be used, but they give the photographer the rights to use the pictures however they want, I think that's sort of ethically a little bit questionable. So I think it's important to establish how the pictures are going to be used, where they're going to be used, how broadly, which territories, how long they're going to be used, and then solidify that agreement in a contract, a model release form.
So when you're not getting your celebrities you shoot to sign model release forms, you're just both of you are under the assumption this will be used primarily editorially.
Yeah, I mean, I own the copyright, let's be clear about that, but you can't use them in an advert for Mercedes-Benz and thereby imply that Ewan McGregor or whoever it happens to be that I photographed drives Mercedes. I mean, if Mercedes-Benz saw one of my Ewan McGregor portraits and they thought, that would make a good advert, they'd come to me and I'd say, yeah, I'll sell you the license for this advertising usage, but it's conditional on me getting Ewan to sign off, or his agents to sign off, and he would want a fee for that usage.
Okay, so if it's in an advert, you would have to get permission to use your own pictures, which you own, but when do you not need to do that? So book covers?
If it's book covers. If book covers are a sort of grey area, but I've had pictures of the Spice Girls. I own the copyright of the pictures of the Spice Girls, and one of the first publicists that the Spice Girls used, a guy called Muff.
Yeah.
He fell
Muff
out
and
with
Duff,
them.
isn't it?
Yeah, there were three: Muff, Duff, and Pretty, and they all worked at Virgin. But Muff ended up doing a book about his time with the Spice Girls. And it was ironic because at the beginning of our relationship, he was trying to get me to sign away my copyright. Subsequently, he would fall out with the organisation and do this sort of telltale book, an unauthorised biography of the Spice Girls. And then he came to me because he knew that I'd not signed any contract to use my pictures of the Spice Girls. And I wasn't sued, so there you are. So books.
But would they have grounds to sue? Maybe they just
not really. No, I mean,
not really. That sounds.
Well, the picture was sort of taken in an editorial capacity, and I guess a book is a kind of slightly longer lasting editorial product, but it's still an editorial product.
Okay, so I've actually seen people selling skateboards with your pictures on the back.
I think that was a friend of mine who was trying to get that venture off the ground,
Okay.
so that didn't really fly.
Okay. So, but would you be able to do that? Could we put up skateboards like with your pictures on the
I
website? Or?
think I think that it would be wise to alert the people whose photographs you were thinking of putting on the skateboards as to what your intention was, and maybe giving them an
Percentage.
opportunity to be involved in the business venture.
Okay. So, but that's just because that's the right thing to do, the kind thing to do.
No, because if it became enormously successful, so for instance, if I started selling Spice Girls merchandise,
Yeah.
T-shirts, and the T-shirts, people were buying the T-shirts solely because it was a picture of the Spice
Not because
Girls.
it's a Harry Borden print.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then I'm being as they are, I wouldn't be surprised if the Spice Girls organization might come after me if the business was fantastically
Interesting.
successful for
But
some
then you could argue
funds.
again that Muff's book of the Spice Girls, people are only buying that because it's inside stories of the Spice Girls.
I think that's fair comment. It is an editorial usage,
Okay.
whereas a T-shirt is different, or a lunchbox, or whatever. Recently, the Spice Girls got in touch because it'd been 25 years, and they bought a license of one of my pictures. I can't remember what it was, and it was a few £1,000s.
That must feel twice as good that they would still choose to use your pictures and pay. They probably own tons of pictures under
Yeah,
their own.
absolutely. They'd
Yeah.
like the picture.
So
Yeah.
that's the one they want and they'll pay for it.
Ultimately, it's a kind of dance, and they're not the Spice Girls specifically, but celebrities are trying to control their image, and you're trying to maintain some degree of independence and freedom to how your images are seen and viewed and regarded. But fundamentally, if it's about a Harry Borden original, then I don't have to ask their opinion. But
Yeah.
if I start venturing into commerce, commercial ways of exploiting that imagery, which is less about Harry Borden and more about just making lunchboxes or water bottles with Jerry from the Spice Girls on,
Yeah.
I'd expect to have some comeback.
Cease and desist. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I had this with my book on divorce. While we were making it, I was photographing people who have gone through a divorce. There was an element of trust, and I felt, because I've been there, I had the kind of skin in the game. I had the experience to ask impertinent questions, intimate questions, and the resulting portraits with the testimonies are very intimate and so on. And the publisher, the School of Life, suggested that I get people to sign a model release form on the day that I did the photographs of them, and I actually said no, because I felt that would be unethical. Because when I'm taking a picture of somebody, it's a very intimate and connecting experience, and I didn't want to corrode that by then afterwards sort of saying, "Can you sign this form?" I wanted them to be involved in the process, and so therefore they had a bit of leverage when it came, and some of them exploited this, when it came to how their words were written up in the book. So they had to have their testimonies rewritten, and then they had to check them and agree that they hadn't been misrepresented.
Yeah.
If I'd just sort of got them to sign all their ability to sort of say no to rebut the publisher, then I think that would have been wrong. It's also the case that you can get people to sign anything, and whether it will stand up in court is about whether it's reasonable. And so in the case of Kylie, I'm pretty certain that if she sort of came after me for using the images on the YouTube channel, then I don't think the court would be very sympathetic, because I was sort of coerced into signing that because I wanted to do the shoot, and the shoot had been arranged and nothing had been discussed before the day of the shoot. So I was signing under duress, and that's an important point.
Yeah.
So it's always about, with law,
I don't know the
think.
definition of duress though under law.
I think it just means I was sort of I
Yeah,
was
but
put in a
I'm sure
position where
I'm sure there's like a actual definition in law which has very strict rules whether or not you've signed something under duress.
yeah, I mean, well, that would be for a judge or
Yeah,
a jury to
yeah.
kind of
Hopefully, someone with some law experience can comment. Or
yeah, I think. But the thing to remember is that you own the copyright of your pictures unless you assign it away.
yeah,
But that doesn't mean you can do whatever you like with them.
yeah, okay.
So you
Unless
can't.
they're under a model release form, and then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, and putting out a model release form and just getting people to sign it, there are kind of ethical questions that need to be asked.
Yeah, interesting. And just to finish off, you were talking about your on divorce book. I was recently shown a page on Reddit.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks for that.
it was a Reddit page called "Terrible Book Covers," and I'll just hopefully on screen I'll scroll through some of the comments. They're quite funny.
Yeah, I thought that was. I just hope that the Kaj, the woman I photographed and persuaded to be on the cover, and she was very reluctant to do it, but she agreed, and she was a sweetheart for agreeing. Doesn't see that Reddit thread, but she probably will now that we're putting this on online.
No, I don't think. I think
I think it was
people
just.
are taking the piss because it's funny. It's
Yeah,
nothing
I
bad
mean,
on her, nothing bad on the
we
picture.
we actually thought it was funny,
Yeah,
and actually, it's better to get talked about and be part of the conversation, as I've said,
yeah,
than kind of for it not to be noticed.
yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks for watching. Slightly different video. See you later.
Thank you.
And if anyone's interested in buying a Kylie print, you can check it out on the shop.